Hello everyone, my name is Ankit Kumar Singh, and this is a video presentation of my third homework in cloud computing course. In this homework, we were asked to create and deploy an AWS Lambda function where it will accept the request, gRPC request and REST request, and give us the output with some details about the log which resides in an S3 bucket. So first of all, I'll just go through the structure of my project. So first of all, the client, we have two gRPC and REST client, which takes the input, the time interval, where our implementation detail, that is, it considers the time interval which will be checked, the time which will be checked in the logs, if the logs actually belongs to this interval or not. So this is the time interval, and then this is the API. So these two configuration details are fetched from config file for both of this client program. And then this is the second module, grpc handler. So this module is the one which is the Lambda function. So in this module, there are three components. This one is S3 reader, which reads the data from log data from S3 bucket. And again, the configuration and the details of this for the reading the data is fetched from application config file. The find log service implements the logic for the finding the logs which belong to the timestamp. And then the main class, request handler class, act as a Lambda function which takes the request from both REST and gRPC. So what this does is it takes the request, and then from the header it identifies if the request is gRPC request or a REST request, and then it passes uh, the request to the specific uh, function. So once it's decided, it goes to either of these two functions, run grpc or run REST. And inside this, the data is serialized, and then first of all we create the uh, input body or input parameter, as done by since this both of these modules, client and grpc handler, depends on protolib, which is the protobuf project, which defines the service as where it gives you the structure of the message transfer for the grpc request. So in the find log proto, we have the input, exactly what's the structure of input and what would be the output. So this is on the project on which the grpc handler project depends on, and it creates the input accordingly. So so this is about the structure of the project. And so once both of the function implements exactly the same thing, that's find the log uh, uh, which are present in between these timestamps, and then return status, either um, um, I mean, if it's found, then 200 with the status code, or otherwise 404. So that is about the project structure. Now coming to how to run the project, we'll first create mm, uh, the jar file for the Lambda function. So we can run SBT. We have to create the jar file for our Lambda function, which resides inside this. So we'll create the jar for this module. Um, That's simply grpc handler slash assembly. So once this is done, jar file is created. We'll upload this jar file to our Lambda function. So yeah, this is our Lambda function, Lambda request handler. So once the jar is created, we'll upload it to the Lambda function, and then we'll test uh, exactly from our client with different inputs uh, how the Lambda function respond to the request. So it's created. We can go to the Lambda function and then upload the jar file. This is the directory where the jar is created. Lambda grpc handler target. As you can see, this is exactly the directory here. So it's been created. Now we'll go and select this jar and then save it. So once it is done, we can go ahead and test the Lambda function from our client. And we'll run our client here. Just close it. So yeah, the Lambda function has been uploaded to the AWS successfully. So now we'll go and run the client code. So to run the client code, we'll go into the project. So, so this is the project directory, um, and we'll run the client. So for this, we can use svt client run, and then we'll uh, have different, since client takes input timestamps parameters from the config file, so we'll have a combination of these input files to check how both of these clients, grpc and rest client, uh, behaves with the different input. So yeah, as when we run the client, it will ask, since there are two classes, that is the grpc client and rest, will ask you the one which you want to run. So we'll start with grpc. So yeah, start time is the log was generated uh, in the which was fetched from EC2, and then uh, okay, there is an error. Socket timeout. Okay, no problem. So I should last time it did not end up. So we'll run this again. So yeah, once more. Yeah, so now this gives you the success output. So what we did was we just ran the grpc client with the input timestamp and the interval. So it creates the inter the timestamp. So in between this to this, since 1 minute was added to the start time, so this thing was added, and then uh, uh, finds the messages which has the pattern in the config file, and then gives you the output, and you can see the status is 200. So just to before going ahead and running another uh, uh, client, I'll just show you the, so this is the um, uh, S3 bucket where the currently logs are pushed from EC2. So this is the log, newly generated log, uh, which on which we are working on. So now we'll go to the again. This is the client project. So for the time interval, this time interval in 1 minute, we found the logs, and these are the logs which match the patterns as it was mentioned as the project requirement. Now we'll run the client again. Uh, so this is for the grpc. First option is for grpc client. So this was grpc client request and the response. Now we'll run it for the uh, uh, REST client. So as you can see, for the grpc response, we have the application grpc prototype, while we run the REST client. So for the same timestamp, the same output comes as it finds the logs, and you can see uh, um, the header content type is application JSON. So this is for the uh, REST client, and again the status is 200. So now what we'll do is go ahead and change the input parameters to check. So I'll add some morning time. So let's add this. Let's add some time interval and see if the logs are present from this time interval. So again, we'll run the SPD client. And since the logs are not from the morning, uh, since the EC2 created the logs in the evening, so this will result uh, in 404. So yeah, there you go. So I ran the grpc client with the time interval start time this and this. So this will create the timestamp. So 10:04 to add 12 minutes. So 10:16. It searched for the logs in between these two timestamps and it couldn't find any. So 404s. And you can see again the header content type is application 0. So same output should be expected from the REST client. Yeah, so we'll run the REST client, start time, interval, it creates the time bound, and then again 404. You can see application JSON. So this was the response for the REST client. So we saw the uh, presence and the absence of logs from both of the client. So and the output. So this is it. And then yeah, we can run the test cases at the end. All the test cases. So as you can see, all the test cases passed. So this was it for the homework 3 presentation.